time doing something like this. Recording.
Welcome back to another episode of College in Real Life. I'm Felix, your host, and
I'm Casey, Felix's co-host.
I'm Paula McKenna from the Math Department.
I'm Lizanne Aguilar from the English Department.
Awesome. And today we're going to be talking, about the importance of office hours and why it matters to students, especially during the beginning of each semester. So we'll begin our conversation.
Yeah, we'll kick it off. So, actually, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourselves, just some of the roles you play here on campus?
I'm the math coordinator for the Math Department. Mm-hmm. I'm also the institute lead for science and technology for the institutes that we just did over the entire campus over the last 2 years.
Okay.
So I've been on that for 2 years. This is going on my third. And you know, I'm active in curriculum development and all that as well. So I do a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I teach. That's my main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
I am a professor of English, and I've been teaching since 1997, full time.
Wow.
I've been involved in various committee efforts for the college and outside of the college as well.
Awesome. And you're the president of?
I'm the immediate past president
Okay.
of Texas Community College Teachers Association.
Okay, awesome.
TCT.
Yeah.
TCCTA.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're very glad to have you. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for providing the opportunity.
Absolutely. Can you guys, this is for students. We want to know and encourage them to come and have office hours with you guys. So what is the importance of holding those?
Well, every faculty member has a certain minimum number of office hours that we have to hold for however many classes that we're teaching. But the significance for the student is that it gives them an opportunity for asking questions that they couldn't necessarily get answered during class, especially for my subject, which is mathematics. It's very important. Lots of times we don't have enough time during class.
Right.
So I'll ask them to come speak to me during my office hours. It's also a time for them to get to know you outside the classroom and not be quite so intimidated by you, because a lot of times they're intimidated by my subject, not necessarily by me, but they are intimidated by mathematics. So it's great to get them to come and see you in just a little different light. Right. So I think that's really important.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I do believe office hours provide an opportunity for the students to follow up with questions, as Paula mentioned, that they are struggling with, or perhaps one particular assignment that they need to delve into a little bit more, and they need to have some clarification at times that they're too embarrassed to ask in front of the rest of their peers. So at times I find that the office hours provide that opportunity, but I don't have that many students come by to visit me at my office.
Not as many as we'd like. We'd like them to come more, which I think is why this might be more helpful for first time in college students. They need to not be as intimidated, not as scared of their professors if they are, and come and speak to us, because we're people just like they are.
Right.
And our goal is to help them be successful, and if we don't see them, we can't help them with that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like if you go to office hours, it's another opportunity to ask for, like you said, more help.
Yeah.
So is that a substitute for going to, let's say, tutoring, for example?
It's different, don't you think?
It is.
How so?
It's tutoring, like if they went to math lab tutoring or maybe English at the writing center, right? They're not going to necessarily get one-on-one kind of help in those labs. I know in the math lab, it's first come, first serve. So when they come in, they can say they have a question, but they may not get an answer for 5-10 minutes. They come to me in my office hour and I don't have another student there. You know, it's one-on-one. I'm going to answer your question right now, and there's no waiting. Right? I think that's a big part of it. And the other thing is also I am the professor.
Right.
True.
I am the master of the content, whereas when they go to a lab, that may be a little different. They may be getting a tutor, not a professor, not an instructor. Doesn't mean that they're not qualified. Just means that they're getting a different type of response.
Right.
Right?
And I have to reiterate the amount of time that's devoted to a tutoring session, depending on the number of tutors that our labs have. depends on how much time each student will be allotted. So if, granted, you sign up for a tutoring session, you might only see a tutor for 30 minutes or an hour, whereas in the office, we can devote much more than that with the student, if needed.
And it's quick for me in the office.
Right.
Right? I always tell my students this in class. If you have a question, please don't be afraid to ask me. I can look at your work and in a matter of seconds tell you what you're doing wrong
Right.
and get you ready and gone, fixed, and on your way. And we can do that as professors so much quicker, I think, in our office than they could in a lab.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
So, just to be sure, office hours are not a substitute for tutoring.
No, they're not a substitute. It's just a different way of getting your questions answered.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just a different way of getting your questions answered. Yeah.
Okay.
What advice do you have for a student who may feel just really shy or really intimidated to come and see you, just because, again, you are that authority figure, and it's nerve-wracking just to come in and speak to you?
I do believe that both Paula and I have the rapport with our students, and they know that we welcome the students to our office. So I've never experienced a student not wanting to stop by my office in the past, or at least it hasn't been shared with me. But definitely I think it has a lot to do with how the professor presents that invitation to allow the student to come by and seek us during our office hours, so that we can answer those questions that that they have, and that you don't want to wait till the assignment is due to ask the question.
Right.
Definitely.
I have more of the students that are more intimidated and scared or shy, because generally math is everybody's worst subject except for mine, right? Or other math professors. I'll make the general statement, how many of you don't like math? And I go, don't be shy, go ahead, I know everyone's going to raise their hand. And so they all raise their hand, and I go, that's fine, because I'm the person who loves it, and that's what I'm here for.
Right.
So Lisanne's right, it's a matter of how we present ourselves in class, but my subject alone is intimidating. So that's a battle that I've been fighting for 23 plus years in education. And truly the only way is to continuously tell them, I'm here to help you and help you to be successful, and you need to not be afraid of asking questions. And in the office hours, that's a much better atmosphere, and you don't have to be afraid of asking, because it's just me and you.
Right.
Right? So
Absolutely.
that's what I hope.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of just like my advising appointments, and sometimes students may come in together if they're asking general questions, and I find that that's like something I accept for them to do from time to time, just to help them bridge that gap, and then they can come in like one-on-one and feel more comfortable.
It's funny, but I tend to get them one. They're just afraid to ask. If they're afraid to ask in class, they come to the office, and then that ice is broken. And they can get their question answered, and they're like, oh, she's fine. I can actually ask her a question.
She's not scary.
She's not that frightening. So, yes, I have been dealing with that for 23 years, so I know what that's like. But as long as once we get them in, they're good, but we just got to get them in.
Right.
And a lot of the work that Paula and I probably do at the beginning of the semester with our students is to break the stereotypes of office hours, and also the stereotypes of not performing well with mathematics or with English.
Exactly right.
Many of our students have had horrible experiences in the past, whether it be a professor or someone telling them that they are not good performers in that subject. So many of them do have a fear of writing and mathematics. So it's trying to break that obstacle and encourage them to learn to acquire that skill with practice, because writing is a skill, and our students can learn it, but you have to practice every day. It's not something that's just once, and learning the concept and that's all. It's an acquisition.
So is there an etiquette to going to office hours? Like, should I be late, or should I be prepared at all?
Probably
Don't be late. If you make an appointment with your professor, be on time, show up, be respectful.
Okay.
Just like I'm going to be the same way to you when you walk in my door.
Right.
It's a mutual respect. Especially if you make an appointment that's outside the normal office hours.
Right.
Now, if it's
Okay.
regular office hours, there's no need for an appointment. That's the whole point. They can just walk in. But if you make an appointment, please be respectful. Everybody's time is valuable,
Right.
including yours and the professors. But there's no dress code or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that. Whatever you wear to class is fine, walking in the door. But as far as respect etiquette, that's what we would expect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't show up, please do send an email or
Exactly.
Make a phone call and let us know that we're not waiting beyond
Right.
that specific time for you if you are not going to show up.
That's
I think
very
that
true.
Really is important.
Yeah, that is
and the
very
same,
important.
I think, as professors, we too prepare ourselves to, wait for the student and to address those questions.
Especially if it's outside your normal office hours.
Exactly.
I don't have any problem doing that at all. And I tell my students I have an open door policy. So if my door is open, you're welcome to come in and ask me questions, even if you don't have an appointment or it's not my office hours. But if I made a specific appointment with you, then that means I chose to be there from a certain time to a certain time. So yeah, it's all about respect.
How do you guys feel about, in the event that, let's say, students have a faculty, an adjunct faculty member they're trying to get a hold of and they just can't, how do you feel about them reaching out to you, even if they're not necessarily your student?
I don't have a problem with
I
it.
don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, and most of the full-timers won't, because adjuncts don't have normal office hours.
Right.
Because they have other full-time jobs. This is not their full-time job.
Right.
Where it is our full-time job. So I'm fine with that. Absolutely
Cool.
fine with that.
And I sometimes do mention to the student to let them know that I've helped them or assisted them in that manner, because there might be some instructors who have specific requirements, and when we state something that isn't with what's stated in class, that's something that just we want to ensure that we want to clarify that information. So I truly encourage the student to let the professor know that I did assist them
That you help them. Yeah.
with that question.
That's a good idea.
And also, I think in professor etiquette, if we are called to a meeting suddenly, we
Yes.
post a note, for our students and let them know where we will be if we are not in our office during that time. So that's
You're
what
right.
we have to do.
That's our etiquette.
Yeah.
That's true.
So if I'm taking an online class, should I have the same expectations of my online instructor, or is there something different that I should expect from them because they may not have physical office hours since it's an online class? Is there a difference at all?
Well, I teach online classes, and in class I do both. And I don't personally hold separate online office hours. Only reason is because the whole point of an online class is to give them flexibility. So if I sit in my office from 10 to 11 online, I'm probably not going to get anybody who, they're working, they're at school, they're taking, whatever. So the office hours aspect, I still post for my online class, my in class, all those office hours. And so if they happen to be a student that's on campus and online, which we have a lot of students that do both, right? Then they can have access to me during my office hours regular. But generally for my online students, my office hours are pretty much anytime they get on the computer. It may not be asynchronous at the same time, but I'm going to answer their question hopefully within 24 hours. So not including weekends. I'm going to add that little proviso right there. Not 24/7, holidays, weekends. But anyway, I am going to answer the question as close as I can to 24 hours. So,
And that's something, chiming in on that comment, I do believe that some students sometimes think that we are 24/7 online, and that is not true. So if a student sends me an email at 2 o'clock in the morning, I may not respond to that student at that time, and I will have to wait till the next day to respond to the student. But sometimes when a student does email me and I happen to be on email at that moment,
that's exactly right.
we'll have that email exchange going on. And I think it provides that opportunity to be able to answer and address those questions quickly. But I do not teach online, but I do emphasize to my students the importance of online communication, and that they not just send an email to their instructor without having the subject line clearly defined, as well as the professional online writing that has to be done in an email format. Because when you are writing online, as we know, you're truly writing to the masses.
Right, exactly right.
Anything that's online is to the whole world practically. So that email will be held accountable for that student, and that's important.
So I think online office hours, if a professor was strictly online, I think that might be done somewhat differently. Maybe they might hold a couple of hours electronically online in a whiteboard environment or something of that sort. And I think that's probably acceptable and probably is done for people. But we have so few professors now, I think, who are truly all online. We're just such a mix of everything.
Right.
So, but they should expect communication with their professor, but not necessarily from 10 to 11 if they're just online, right?
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys have both been here for a while, a number of years.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan of stories. I love for people to tell me stories. So what are some memorable office experiences that you've had with students, or something that was maybe particularly meaningful, just where you maybe had a good connection with a student?
I can start off with
Okay, go
one
ahead.
student in particular.
Oh, look, she's got one in mind already.
I do.
Okay.
Nathan, I won't mention his last name, but Nathan was a student right at the beginning of my teaching career at SAC, and he came into the classroom with an attitude. And truly, he was very demanding, and he wanted to be called Mr., with his last name. And from that moment on, I knew that he was going to be a challenging student for me. But
So polite.
he finishes the semester not performing as well, of course, and that grade stayed with him for a period of time, but he would always come by my office and visit me in my office hours. And he would talk about his goals and future career aspirations. So several years pass, and Nathan comes by the office and visits and tells me that he's been doing all sorts of different types of jobs. At one point working for an engineering company. At another point he was working as a scuba diver instructor. He also was a black belt in martial arts. So he, every several years he would come back and tell me about his job at that point in time. And suddenly he comes to me one day and tells me that he wants to go into the nursing program. And I was a little bit surprised with that response because and his comment, because I was not sure if that was the direction that he was going. But he wanted to retake my class. And it was the same class that he had taken years back. And I remember I re-emphasized to him several times, Nathan, I don't think that that's a good idea because I really want you to try another class and have another professor. And he insisted that he wanted to get a much better grade. And there he was the next semester in my class, enrolled, and he finished the course. He was fighting for that perfect A, but he still managed to receive a B in the course, and he applied to the nursing program, and he is now working at a hospital in Houston. And he finished the program, and he's working on his master's, and he's the one student that always comes back and returns to my office hours, even after he has finished his studies. And
That's great.
It's just, it's a great story, but it was interesting to see the dynamics.
Did he still require Mr. something when he came back the second time?
I refer to him as Mr. Mr. Nathan.
Just curious.
But he does laugh about that.
Oh, he said that. I bet he did.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yes. So.
Well, I had I'll do mine a little faster, but I had a student her name was Tina, I won't say the last name, and she, when I first had her, it was probably, I want to say 10 years ago maybe, and she was in one of my developmental classes, and during one of the classes she had a seizure. And I have, my father suffers from seizures, so I know what to do. So I took care of her, and after that particular day, that was, bond forever. So I had her for the rest of that semester, and she would come to my office hours all the time because she would lose her short-term memory because of the seizures. So she would come, and I would give her a little mini lecture over the content that she'd already heard, but so she could get back up to speed. I've never seen anybody work harder in my life to get their degree, and she stayed with me for 2 developmentals and college algebra, all 3 classes, and she's got her degree and she's out there working, and it's just phenomenal. But
That's amazing.
yeah, it is. It's totally awesome. And so she still calls me on the phone. She'll still call me and say, I just did this week, or it's great. So it's been a decade, and she's still. So yeah, you can make great connections. You just have to take the opportunity.
Those are fantastic stories.
That's right.
And evidence of the power of a connection with a student, and how that allows them to I don't know, just how that plays out like in their lives.
And be successful, not just in school, but in life in general.
Right.
Yes.
Right? And she said that many times, if you hadn't helped me that first time, I don't think I would have probably come back to class over and over again. But, it's like, but I still want you to be successful. It doesn't matter what's going on, right? So now she's just very successful and doing really well. It's just awesome.
That is awesome.
One of those feel-good stories.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Those are great stories. I love when students come back telling great things about their experiences with faculty, so that's really inspiring.
That's good.
Yeah.
A couple quick questions before we start to wrap it up. Where can I find office hours? Where are these hours located in these magical hours?
They're you can find them in 2 places. Once you can go to the division office, the department office, and ask them, and they have a list of all the office hours for every professor.
Okay.
You can also just go to your office, the office of your professor, and they're posted outside your door, outside the door. And it's every semester we change them. They're always updated.
Okay.
And I have to add that they are also on our syllabi as well.
Yes, that's very true.
And if you're like me, I actually have it on campus as well.
Yes,
posted.
I do too. I have it on both. Yep.
And this might be a little bit of a trick question, but if I haven't visited
trick
you
questions here.
at all during the semester, for the 16-week semester, and it's week 12, 13 out of the semester, and I'm not doing so well in my class, and I'm hoping to make a D at least, or my attendance is kind of like patchy. What kind of a reception can I expect to have when I visit the instructor for the first time for office hours?
You want to field that one? You want to field that one? I have it all the time because it's math. But I'll let you do that. Then
I don't think I would wait till the 12th week.
No, I wouldn't either. But
so
they do.
Definitely, as instructors, we can single out and notify the student at a time when they're not performing well. And I know Paula does this as well as I do. When I don't see them in class, or when I see a low performance in the class, I will reach out to the students. And in many cases, it is more than once. But when you try to reach out to them via telephone, via email, in person, and you still don't receive a response, and by that time, as an instructor, I know that the student has received 3 notifications, and he or she is choosing not to follow through.
Okay.
So we have to definitely make the student accountable and also responsible for their actions as well.
Okay, so the best idea then is to start developing a rapport early in the semester with the instructor.
Absolutely. Don't put it off. Yeah, the earlier you do that connection, the better you're going to be and the more successful you're going to be.
And then you mentioned responsibility and accountability as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes. And we understand that many of our students will go through something difficult, in their lives,
part of
like
life.
professors, but there's still that responsibility to own up to your working class and
Very true.
to complete the course.
Yeah.
It's very true.
From
Communication is huge. So that's part of it. So don't wait till the 12th, 13th
Yes.
week and then decide that's your first time you're ever going to say anything, right?
I'll keep that
Let's
in mind.
talk earlier than that.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
talk earlier than that.
What are some common questions that students do come to you for during your office hours that are not too specific, too content specific?
Sometimes I have questions about the library, the resources on campus, and even though we provide them with our syllabi or with some course information, we make that available to them, but we still can go through some of those questions. And at times I know Paula and I have both experienced students who are in need of a counselor.
Yes.
Or are actually in a challenging situation and they do need the resources. So that's when we make the effort to contact these centers on campus or even
Or
the
suggest to them
designated
to
person. And we suggest definitely and make that recommendation or referral to them. So that definitely is something outside of our core work that we're doing in class, but still it's something that the student needs at that particular moment. And we want-
Sometimes one question is, how can I be more successful? And I think that's very important. And that's when all the labs and stuff come up and what they can do to do better time management, better work management, all of
Yes.
that. And sometimes that's a conversation.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with content.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay.
Cool.
Any last?
Well, thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for
Yeah.
your insight and input. And
It was a pleasure.
yeah, and
Great.
I just want to state that I wanted to invite you here to represent the math department and English department because, I mean, those are huge subjects to be to have straight and knowledge with as a first-time college student.
Absolutely.
And throughout your college career, for as
Yes.
a matter. So, yeah.
And thank you both for providing the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And we look forward to seeing the continuous work that you're doing with this program.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It was great.
Yeah, thanks,
All right.
guys. Woohoo!
All right. And until next time, next week, our next episode, thank you for joining us for College in Real Life. Remember that you're not just a number here at San Antonio College. You're not just an individual. You matter to us. So please visit your advisor, visit your instructors, your professors for office hours. If you need help, please ask for it. Please look for the resource. And thank you for joining us.